Good morning. Last time we talked about deposit multiplier or simple deposit multiplier. Today we are going to talk about money multiplier. As we said last time, that if there is an initial deposit of 1,000 in a bank and the required reserve ratio is 10%, so we can calculate the total amount of deposits in all banks in the banking system as deposits equal 1 over required reserve ratio multiplied by reserves. As an initial T account, the initial 1,000 pounds will be recorded as deposits 1,000 and reserves 1,000. So this is the initial reserve amount, and the required reserve ratio is 10%. This is multiplied by 1,000. So the total amount of deposits in all the banking system will be 10,000. This is in case of simple deposit multiplier, and as we said that this is simple deposit multiplier. This multiplier is under the assumption that C equals 0, or there is no currency in circulation and there is no excess reserves. And all deposits are checkable deposits. Now we are going to relax two main assumptions, which are C equals 0 and ER equals 0, while keeping the third assumption that time and saving deposits equals 0. And we have to calculate money multiplier in case of M1. As we said before, that M1 is the narrowest definition of money supply. It's calculated in this case as C plus D. So in this case, we are going to relax two assumptions, which means that C not equal 0 and ER not equal 0, while we are going to keep the third assumption as it is, which means that T equals 0, or in another words, time and saving deposits equals 0, or in another words, that all types of deposits are checkable deposits only. What's meant by multiplier? Money multiplier. Money multiplier is a ratio that relates the change in the money supply to a given change in the monetary base. As we said, monetary base equal M node equals C plus R, which is currency in circulation or money in the hand of the public, or paper money and coins plus reserves. It's also known as high-powered money, as when money supply increase, as when monetary base increase, money supply is going to increase as well. So now we are going to derive the money multiplier of M1. As we said that based on the narrowest definition of M1, M1 equals C plus D. This is number one. Now we have to express every element as a percentage of checkable deposits. So we can write C, which is currency in circulation, as small c, which is currency ratio, multiplied by D. Currency ratio is calculated as C over D. Or we would like to calculate currency in the hand of the public as a percentage of deposits or as a ratio of deposits. So say for example C is 0.3, this means that currency in circulation is about 30% of demand deposits. So now we can substitute using this equation in the original M1 equation. So we can write it as small c multiplied by D plus D equal M1. Now we can take D as a common factor, so we can write it as 1 plus small c D. And this is number 2. Now we are going to move to the monetary base. As we said, monetary base equal C plus R. And R equal required reserves plus excess reserves. Required reserves is calculated as required reserve ratio multiplied by deposits. Now we have to find excess reserve ratio using the same way as a percentage or as a ratio of deposits. So we can write excess reserves as the excess reserve ratio multiplied by deposits. Now we are going to use this and substitute in the equation. So we can write C as small c multiplied by D plus required reserves RD multiplied by D and excess reserves RE multiplied by D. Now we can take D as a common factor. So C plus RD plus RE equals D. If you would like to find the value for D in order to be able to substitute in equation number 2, so we can write D as 1 over RD plus RE plus small c multiplied by the monetary base. And this is known as deposit multiplier of M2. Of M1. Or small d1. Deposit multiplier measures the effect of the change in monetary base on the total demand deposits. If deposit multiplier is 4, so this means that any change in monetary base, say for 1,000, this will result in a 4,000 increase in demand deposits. Now we are going to substitute using equation number 4 in equation number 2 in order to find the relationship between money supply M1 and the monetary base MB. So as we said in number 2, M1 equal 1 plus small c d. Now we are going to replace d with its value. So we can write it as 1 plus small c divided by rd plus re plus c multiplied by the monetary base. So this is the relationship between monetary base and money supply. And this is known as money multiplier M1. So the money multiplier, or the small m1, shows by how much money supply is going to change if monetary base increases by 1 unit, for example. What are the factors that affect money supply, money multiplier m1? Small m means the multiplier. Large m, capital letter M, means the money supply itself. Okay, so what are the factors affect M1, small m1? Number one, the currency ratio. When currency ratio increases, less money will be deposited in the bank system. This means that the ability of commercial banks to lend and create deposits will decrease. So total deposits will decrease, and money supply M1 will decrease as well. Number two, once again, if small c is going to decrease, so this is going to affect the ability of banks to create deposits. So deposits is going to decrease as well, and hence money supply is going to decrease. Number two, required reserve ratio. When the central bank increases the required reserve ratio, this means that the ability of banks to lend money and to create more deposits is going to decrease. So deposit creation will decrease, so money supply will decrease. Number three, excess reserves or excess reserve ratio. An increase in excess reserve ratio will have the same effect of an increase in required reserve ratio. So the three factors that affect M1, C, currency ratio or required reserve ratio or excess reserve ratio, all of them have negative impact on money supply. When they increase, money supply is going to decrease, and vice versa. There are a number of additional factors that can affect the money supply. The first three factors affect money multiplier, which will in turn will affect money supply. But the additional factors will affect the money supply itself, not the money multiplier. Number one, discount loans. Discount loans are loans or um, are loans taken by banks from the central bank, taken by commercial banks from the central bank. So they are borrowed from the central bank at a discount rate. So discount loans are under the control of the central bank by affecting the discount rate. They can decrease the discount rate in order to encourage banks to borrow more. So the central bank can affect the discount rate, whether increase or decrease, and this will affect discount loans. That will affect the money supply. Number two, non-borrowed monetary base. The remainder of the monetary base other than the discount loans is known as non-borrowed monetary base. Non-borrowed monetary base is under the direct control of the central bank. This can be done through open market operations, as the central bank is going to sell and buy um, bonds and the stocks to other banks in order to control the non-borrowed monetary base. Later on, we are going to talk about the open market operations. So this is under the direct control of the central bank. So if the central bank would like to increase the non-borrowed monetary base, as a result, the central bank is going to buy bonds and the stocks from commercial banks. So they are going to have a much more money that can be used in order to create deposits or make loans or and so on. So this will affect money supply. So from this we can write monetary base as the summation of discount loans and non-borrowed monetary base. Also we can write M1 as small m1 multiplied by discount loans plus non-borrowed monetary base. Here, just like this equation, we are going to replace this part by discount loans and non-borrowed monetary base. So once again, if the government would like to increase money supply, central bank is going to purchase bonds in the open market operation. As a result, a non-borrowed monetary base is going to increase and money supply is going to increase as well. In case of discount loans, the government is going to decrease the discount rate, so banks can borrow more from the central bank. So monetary base is going to increase and money supply is going to increase as well. This is the end of our lecture today. Thank you and see you next week.